All right, let's do it. I'll have you go just so we can be productive with the lesson. We'll do a soft field takeoff.
Okay. So that's going to be 10 degrees of flaps.
Uh-huh.
And me pulling back on the yoke.
Pulling back on the yoke, and as we found out, especially on a cool morning like this, not all the way back on the yoke.
Right.
But we'll back pressure, yep.
As soon as she lifts off, let it come forward a bit.
Yep, just release that back pressure. You don't really want to push it forward, but you just release that back pressure, let it kind of, low pass Maverick style right over the runway.
Okay.
Perfect, there you go. And then let's go ahead and contact tower.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. This was finicky. There you go. You pressed it, but it...
Whitted Tower, this is Skyhawk November 99265, holding short runway 7, ready for departure, VFR to the east.
99265, Whitted Tower, runway 7, clear for takeoff, proceed on course.
265, cleared for takeoff, runway 7. Okay.
All right, so we'll try our best to use minimum braking. There you go, holding back pressure.
Yep.
If you do still need to use a little bit to steer, that's understandable.
Yep.
And then here, I know you're doing that, but we'll flip on landing on our strobe lights.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Lights, camera, action.
And then remember, since you do have that nose up and it's probably going to be popping a wheelie, that right rudder is going to be even more pronounced. So my challenge for you is while we're doing the soft field, try your best to hold that center line, okay?
Okay. Here we go.
Probably going to come off the runway real quick today. And even once you come off, you're still going to make sure you hold that right rudder. You're doing a great job so far. It's looking really nice. There you go. Beautiful. Now you see you got 65 knots under your belt, so you can start pitching up, and off we go. And then once we get to a safe altitude, you can go ahead and clean it up.
Okay.
Very nice. You did an awesome job of holding the center line. That was really nice.
The wind was not my friend.
Yeah, a little bit of a crosswind from the left.
Yep. All right, what heading are we going on?
Oh, so go ahead and fly about a 1... Today you could probably do about a 100 heading.
Okay. Wow, nice morning.
Beautiful.
61925, runway 7, cleared, touch and go.
And we'll level off at 1,000 feet.
Yep.
61925.
Zoom this out a little bit here. All right, so today's lesson, like I said, is going to be all off of pilotage. All right, so we're going to be looking at points. And going over to Avon Park, I do know specific waypoints. Been there a couple times.
I figured. Going eastbound, remain clear of the Bravo. If you'd like flight following, Tampa approach available, 119.65. Have a great day. See ya.
Can you take controls for a second? I want to close this window.
Frequency change approved, 9090265.
Little chilly.
Yep. All right. You got the
controls.
controls. We're almost there at 1,000 feet, so go ahead and level off once we get there.
Yep.
All right, we're on our way.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the first thing we're going to be looking for is we just head off and we kind of target a direction of about a course of about 103. Now, I actually just realized we have winds from the left today out of the north, so let's go ahead and actually steer a little bit to the left, and let's go ahead and set a little bit more nose down trim, take out a little bit extra power because we are climbing just a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, fun fact, if you ever go to your transponder here, you turn on the function where you can see the pressure altitude. This is actually what air traffic control sees. So this is like way off right now. It's down at 800 feet. So thankfully that shouldn't be an issue. But if you see yourself obviously creeping up to 1,200 feet, you want to go ahead and get down.
Yeah.
All right, so when we head off in this direction, want to be looking for a warehouse. There is a massive Amazon warehouse out over here, right next to I-75. All right, go ahead and watch our airspeed. Woo, we're up in yellow range there. Pull that back a little bit. And then what you can see right now, so see this, there's a landmass right over here that's kind of like a Y-shaped. Yep. You can't really see the channels behind it.
Yep.
I believe that's Apollo Beach, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Anyway, so that landmass right here, I know I've been there before, but I can't remember what it's called. So go ahead and try your best to fly a course to that island right here, or this peninsula, funny looking peninsula thing.
I see it.
So yeah, you're going to have to put the nose perfect. Just put the nose to the left side of it. Ooh, I don't have my phone on. And then, what did I want to do? Oh, I want to put it in airplane mode. That's what I want.
Cessna 25, runway 7, clear touch and go.
Clear for touch and go, runway 7, 619-25.
All right, so now what I want you to do is, now that we're over here, we're going to try our best to look for that Amazon warehouse. Like I said, there is a massive building over here. One thing that also helps when you're going in the direction of Avon Park, you see where these two reservoirs are, these like square-looking reservoirs?
Yep.
Also going towards them.
Okay.
So this would be the first thing you kind of look for, is this Y-looking thing. Like I said, I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called.
I think that is Apollo Beach. I think you're right.
All right. We do have traffic out over here to the right. They shouldn't be a factor.
Alpha 104.012, altimeter 3025.
Now, the beautiful thing about taking this airplane is if you do get yourself ForeFlight, right?
I'm getting ForeFlight.
So this aircraft has, in the transponder, it's the only one that has a Stratus built into the transponder.
So it gives me Wi-Fi and Jeep.
It gives you traffic. It gives you ADS-B traffic and weather. All right, so that's what I do. A lot of times you probably see me with the little white thing in the window here. Yep. That's my own Stratus.
Yes.
All right, really quick, we do have this traffic out over here to the right. I'm keeping an eye out for them. I don't see them. Of course, I'm looking right into the sun here.
I don't see them either. Are they at our same altitude, or?
Yes. They're going 116 knots. They should not be a factor. Oh, yeah, I see them. Yep, no factor.
Okay. So is that the warehouse at 12 o'clock?
That giant white building is what you're aiming for. So we want to fly directly to that building. We have our winds out from the north, out of the left. So go ahead and point the nose to the left of that building. I want you to try to fly directly over that Amazon warehouse.
Okay.
He's inbound with info.
That's a 172
But, so here in 909-265, you can take any device with ForeFlight and connect to this Stratus via Wi-Fi, and it'll give you this information. And it can be very valuable, you know, especially I always tell my student pilots, if you can afford or if you can take something like this, it can really be helpful, especially flying around Florida.
I'm doing it, bud. Trust me. I already told the wife it's a safety issue.
We have all the stupid birds flying in Florida, the feathered ones and the metal ones.
Yep.
So there you go. So especially now that we don't have the sun in our eyes, you can really see how easy it is to spot this massive warehouse over here, a giant white building.
Yep.
And another great thing, using this as a waypoint to help you out when you're heading eastbound, is, guess what's right next to this building?
I don't know.
So you can't really see it, but highway. Oh, I-75.
75, yeah.
So, which means we are clear of the Bravo shelf.
Right. So then we can go to
our altitude. Now, when you do your cross-country flying, obviously going out here to Avon Park, you're going eastbound. The odd man flies east, so above 3,000 feet. If you cruise above 3,000 feet, you'd be going up to 3,500. Below 3,000 feet, technically, it's fair game.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want to just stay at 2,500, you're more than welcome to. All right, so the next point is actually kind of interesting, and I'll explain my reasoning for it here in a second. But we'll make sure we get to our warehouse here. You're doing a great job going right to our warehouse. So, obviously, once we get past 75, we can initiate a climb. We'll get up to, we can just go up to 2,500 to save the time.
Okay.
Nice, safe altitudes. That way we have plenty of altitude under our belts. All right. So, once you get out here past 75, there's some things here still kind of close to the metro area, but as you get further and further away, there's obviously nothing out here.
Right.
Okay. So your points that you pick are kind of few and far in between, and there's a couple of them that are here that you'll see that are not listed on the sectional chart. The first one being, if you look really closely, can you see the tower that's out over there on the horizon? It's really thin on the horizon, but there's a really, really tall radio tower out over there.
Yes, I see it.
All right, that's going to be our next waypoint.
Oh, that's an easy one.
But we're going to climb up to, obviously, 2,500.
Right.
61925, runway 7,
And
clear to touch and go.
this keeps doing this in this airplane. That car beat keeps creeping out.
That'll lower your RPM, right?
Yeah.
Road 2 Zulu Foxtrot, you amend your
There's
instructions.
one other thing out over here that you can use as a waypoint going over to Avon Park, and that is, it's something that's right over there. There is a huge, at least I think it's right over there. There is a huge pool at some kind of resort, apartment complex, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think it's right over there. But it's compared to all the other bodies of water, it's like a pool color, right? It's like a deep blue color.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
And you can kind of start to see it's right in the sun, but you can kind of start to see the tint of it.
Yeah, I do see it. Yep.
So that's kind of a thing that you can use also going out in this direction. So now, that tower out over there, just like the radio towers over here to the left, about 1,600 feet above ground.
Yep.
The reason why I tell my students I'm okay with them using it as a waypoint and flying towards it is if you only use it as a waypoint. All right. If you are not using it as a waypoint, stay away from it.
Right.
The reason why is because if you are using it as a waypoint, guess what you're going to be doing?
Well, you're not going to run into it, for one thing.
Well, you're going to be looking for it, right? You're going to have sights on it, right?
Exactly.
So that's why I tell my students, I was like, listen, I'm okay with you using it as a waypoint as long as you are using it and you're looking for it, right? Now, if you're not looking for it, then I don't want you just willy-nilly flying out over here 2,000 feet and then just buzzing right over top of that thing.
Right.
There you go. Now you can see that pool really, really well.
Yep.
Obviously, compared to the other bodies of water, it's a very bright blue color.
Yeah.
So, when we head out over here, obviously, if we're up at 2,500 feet, that is plenty high enough above this tower.
Yeah.
That's about almost 1,000 feet of clearance. And there's also a good chance, too, if you fly towards this tower, especially if you're using it as a waypoint and you have it in your sights, you're not going to fly directly over it. You're going to fly to the left or to the right of it.
Yeah, I'm going to stay to the left of it.
And I'll actually show you, there is another thing you can kind of use to identify where that tower is. There is a roadway that goes out in this direction.
Boy, it's smooth up here.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Dakotas and the upper Midwest sent us down a gift here down to Florida with this very cold air mass.
Yeah, it's snowing up there.
Yeah, they had to move the the Bills and the Browns game.
Oh, did they
Detroit.
move it? I saw they were going to get massive snow.
Yeah, it sucks. I wanted them to play in the snow.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. We're at 2,500. We'll go ahead and start leveling off. Now, you can still see the very, very tippy top of that tower on the horizon right there if you still have sights on it.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so go ahead, and that's where we're going to fly to. Obviously, we're going to need to point the nose to the left of it, especially if you want to pass to the left of it. We're going to really need to kind of point to the left.
Yep.
But so far, we're doing great here.
Okay. Boy, once it dips below the horizon, though, if you're not spot on, it's harder to see.
Well, the other thing is as you get closer, as long as it's not NOTAMed out, which there would be NOTAMs for this,
right,
you can see the lights usually pretty easily.
And
even during the brightest of days, once you get closer to it, you can see the white flashing lights on it.
Okay. A little bit hazy right now.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's not a lot of moisture in the air because usually on these cool mornings, if we do have a lot of moisture and humidity in the air, that's when you get the fog out over here in central Florida.
Yep.
So this roadway that you're flying over right now is that roadway. It's like the only road out over here.
I see it.
You have like mine. I don't know which road it is, but you have like mines out over here.
Cessna 25, you're following traffic, very short final, runway 7, clear touch and go.
I see that light now on the top of that tower.
Yep.
61925.
And if the lights weren't working, that would be NOTAM down. That would be something that would be NOTAM.
Taxi back to the FBO.
So you can check along your route. So now, heading out over here, not too far beyond your tower, especially if you're coming out here, you're having trouble finding this tower. You know now that this road is north of that tower, so if you follow this road, you're going to be clear of it.
Yeah.
Right? There is something else out over here that is actually on the sectional chart that is pretty easy to spot. There is a radome out over here in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of hard to spot right now with the sun in our face, but I see where it's at. It's right there. It's right just to the right of the roadway over there. There's like this big white ball on top of a tower. It's like a weather radar.
Yeah, I see it. Yep, next to that pond.
So you can use either or. If you're going out in this direction, or you can use both of them. You know, if you have that tower and that radome, it's, you know, you're going the right way. You're on the right track.
Well, the road, honestly, is the easiest thing. Just follow the road and keep the tower to the right.
And, of course, I don't have my sectional chart downloaded on my phone. It's on my iPad.
I did look at the sectional last night.
But, yeah, if you go out on, if you go and you look just to the east of this tower here, this tower is really easy to spot on the sectional.
That thing came out again.
Yep. Yeah, if you look just to the east of that tower on the sectional, you'll see just in the middle of nowhere, just written radome.
Okay.
And then that's how you know where it's at. Now, once you get past this area, it's pretty easy out to here. This tower and the radome, this general area right out here ahead of us is about halfway between St. Petersburg and Avon Park.
Yep.
All right. So, now as we get a little bit past these ones, it gets a little bit trickier because we're flying over the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
All right. So I'll give you a couple things that you can look out for that'll keep you on the right track to Avon Park. So I want you to go ahead now. Go ahead if you have sights on that radome, which you can see it right down over there, the little white ball out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Go ahead and try to fly in that general direction. So let's turn just a little bit to the left. There you go. Even if you don't fly directly over, if you creep a little bit to the right, that's no big deal.
So I don't really need to focus on that tower anymore. As long as I'm flying to the radome, I'm clear of the tower.
Yep. I kind of like to use them in unison because when you're out there, when you're out underneath the Bravo at 1,000 feet, on almost any given day, you can see that tower over the horizon. You can see that tower sticking out on the horizon. If you look, you know, eagle eyes and you really look for it, on any given day from where you're over 75 over that warehouse, you can find where that tower's at. So you know which direction to point yourself. Right? Okay, there's that tower. I can start going in that direction. And then from there, once you get beyond the Bravo, I know, okay, well, if I climb up to 2,500 feet, I'll be above the tower. And then from there, I can use it. I can look for it as I get a little bit closer. We'll just turn that down for now.
Since we're not real busy right now, I was watching, entering the pattern, CTAF Airport and all that. So I assume the pattern altitude, I know the pattern altitude at this is 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet above the ground.
Above the ground, and it's 160 elevation.
It is.
So I looked at all that. So when we enter the pattern, are we going to overfly the airfield and come back towards it, or are we going to just enter the pattern?
So we're probably just going to enter the pattern, and I'll tell you what, most of the time, what you're actually going to do at Avon Park is probably going to be that other instance where you do a straight in, because you are allowed to do straight in approaches as long as you don't impede anybody else who's in the pattern and cut off anybody who's in the pattern.
Right.
Reason being, they have runway 1028 and then they have runway 523. Okay. Most of the time, the winds will favor either runway 10 or runway 5. Most of the time they favor runway 5. And when you go by yourself, I would prefer you to use runway 5. It's a nice long 5,000-foot long runway.
Okay.
And when you go by yourself, I would also want you to do full stop taxi backs.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we doing that today or just touch and go?
Yeah, we can practice that today.
Okay.
So we'll do that, and then so what you can do is you can kind of orient yourself when you get, and that'll be the only time during this flight when we utilize the GPS. When we try to figure out. And we can kind of figure out how far we are.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we're going to use. We're going to use our nearest page. Remember the nearest page all the way to the right? There's that. As we get closer, just to identify how far we are.
All right.
And we're going to use that as kind of like a way, when we get to about 5 miles, we're just going to fly 90 degrees. So we got runway 5 is what we're landing on. So if we need to fly kind of like a long extended base leg, we're not going to call it, but long extended base leg, we'll fly about a 160 course.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to fly a course of 160, and then we'll go ahead and line ourselves up with that runway.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Roger, hold shorter runway.
And then we can just announce 5 miles straight in, stuff like that. All right, perfect. So we got the radome out here ahead of us. So now the next thing that I like to use going out in this direction, and it's not listed on the sectional chart. I don't know why, but it's not listed. There is a huge golf resort out over here. If you look over there to the right, I believe it's called Sand something. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, right over there to the right, there's a huge golf resort. So go ahead and point the nose towards that golf resort. Or not point the nose, but fly a course to that.
Yeah.
So nose a little bit to the left with our winds today.
So right to the right of where that cluster of ponds is that what you're talking about?
Right where that cluster of ponds is where it's at.
Okay.
There's multiple golf courses. There's one to the left. Where that cluster of ponds is, there's one to the left and there's one to the right. And then you'll also see like a pretty big building also that's associated with it. That's like a resort. I've never been there, but I've flown over it a bunch of times. But important thing to remember is that it's not listed on the sectional chart. So the way I like to remember it is radome, and then just beyond the radome is where that golf resort is. That's how you know you're still, even though they're kind of close together, you know you're going on the right track. Avon Park is still dead on the nose out ahead of us here.
Okay.
Square the base to final for runway 7, and you were cutting out earlier. Verify you're on the FBO.
So speaking of golf clubs, are you a fan of the movie Caddyshack?
Oh, I saw that a long time ago.
Okay.
I remember liking it, yeah.
Well, it's a cult favorite. I'm a person that's seen it 100 times or more.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that was filmed in South Florida.
Oh, really? Where at?
It was called, I think, like Rolling Hills or something. It's down by, like, Miami area.
Oh, okay.
But that was Bushwood.
Nice. Yeah, what's it called? Yeah, I saw it when I was a long, long time ago.
I got you. It's a funny movie.
All I remember is that I know is they keep on fighting with the hedgehog or the gopher.
The gopher, yeah.
Yeah, the whole movie or something like that.
Time to watch it again, Zach. It's a hilarious movie, but I accidentally stayed there one time, and they're like, oh, yeah, this is where Caddyshack was filmed. I'm like, no way.
I bet you were happy about that.
Yeah.
25, runway 7, clear touch and go.
All right, there you go. Now you can start seeing that really, really easily.
Touch and goes, runway 7.
So, once you get past the golf course, you can see it all underneath us.
Right
here. So yeah, it's like I said, it's like 3 golf courses.
Yeah.
You got like, I think these are 2 of them over here, and then one of them's over there.
Yep. That's it.
But so anyway, so you have your golf resort now. This is the funny thing about Avon Park. As you get further and further, it progressively gets more and more challenging because you get less and less stuff to look at.
Yeah.
So after your golf resort, there is really not much to go off of when you get out here. All right.
Just do a heading.
So we want to try our best to be flying a general course over to Avon Park. So now, if you are getting by the golf course too, you want to point in the right direction. Maybe now would be a time if you have your ForeFlight, if you have your GPS, maybe use it. But I'm going to go ahead and let you know that there is something else you can use.
Okay.
If you look off ahead of you, there's a reservoir.
Yep.
I like to call it like the I reservoir because there's a strip of land that looks like an uppercase I, right?
Yep.
So I like to go ahead and use that as my next waypoint.
I agree.
I actually have 2 of them. There's the I reservoir and the L reservoir. This one is the L reservoir because it has a landmass that looks like an L in it.
Yep.
And then that one's called the I reservoir because it looks like an I.
Traffic, thank you. Number 2, runway 7.
Now this would also be a time we would maybe want to go ahead and start getting our radio frequencies in.
Sure.
All right. So I saw you had some notes. Did you happen to have the radio frequencies written down?
I do. Can you take the controls?
Yes.
Turkey 90298 Juliet Wooded Ground runway 7.
So CTAF is 122 point, well, I guess we want...
25.
Well, which one do we normally listen to for our weather?
The AWAS.
AWAS. Where do we usually put that?
On standby.
On that one in COM
Right.
2. So go ahead and tune COM 2 with your CTAF.
Changes approved westbound. Tampa approach is available on 118.8.
This thing is not flying straight.
Change approved. We'll see you on the way back. 8480 Fox.
What the hell? I'm not adjusting this correctly. It's...
So you got 118. And
oh, there it goes. I was using the outer dial. All right, never mind. 118725. All right.
All right. So then, now, in the meantime, before we even listen to that, go ahead and get your CTAF in there.
Okay, so 122.8.
Nice and easy. Oh, the other one. There you go.
North of runway 7. The crossing for you when you get 05012 altimeter 3025.
Make direct, hold north to 725, still advise news.
No, that's not what I want to do.
There you go. And then go ahead and flip-flop them. Just like you do on the ground with the C. You're flip-flopping your C. No. The radio. Just the frequencies. Flip-flop the frequencies. There you go. This one's annoying. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So now we got all of our radio frequencies in.
Yep.
We can go ahead and now let's go ahead and listen to our AWAS at...
So that's COM 2.
Yep.
Wind 020 at 9. Visibility 10. Clear below 12.
What's the volume?
COM.
12 Celsius. Dew point 6. Altimeter 3026. Avon Park Municipal Airport. Automated weather observation 1354 Zulu weather. Wind 020 at 9. Visibility 10. Clear below 12,000. Temperature 12 Celsius. Dew point 6. Altimeter 3026.
All right, we got 3026. Go ahead and set that in both of your altimeters. And then what were the winds?
Avon Park Municipal Airport. Automated weather observation 1355 Zulu weather. Wind 020 at 8. Visibility 10.
020 at 8.
020 at 8. So, all right, you go ahead and put that back to COM 1. I'll let you go ahead and take the controls back. We're
I have the controls.
You have the controls. 2,500. Sorry, I lost a little bit of altitude, but so if we have 020 at 8, which runway do you think we'd be using?
5.
5, yes. We'll have a little bit of a crosswind component from the left. Overall, sounds like a pretty nice morning in Avon Park.
Yep.
All right, so now is the time. We're flying to our I reservoir here.
Yep.
And also, too, I'm going to let you try your best to make the radio calls today, too.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So now what I want you to start to do, start implementing or start using this.
The go-to?
The nearest page. That's all. I don't want you to do direct to. Because I'm trying. When you go by yourself, I want you to use everything. I want you to use pilotage.
Yeah.
Dead reckoning, which is calculating, stuff like that, your flight planning, and then GPS, VORs, whatever you need to use, you use everything.
Right.
All right. Today we're focusing mostly on pilotage, so that way you can see what is out here and what it looks like.
I'm a pilotage guy, but go ahead.
Me too, personally, me too. I pride myself on knowing what's around and where I'm at. So, speaking of knowing where you are and where you're at, another thing you can look for out over here, you have this I reservoir, but I know we're right over it. You'll see it on the way back, but the town of Bowling Green is right underneath here, and then this is Highway 17.
Okay.
So even though it's a north-south roadway, crossing it, okay, well, I'm crossing Highway 17, right? And then also, too, right underneath of us is Bowling Green. They have a pretty big water tower. I'll show you on the way back.
All right.
But they're right next to this I reservoir.
All right.
Okay. So, go ahead now to that nearest page and take the big knob and scroll it all the way to the right till you can't scroll no more. Awesome.
Yes.
And then just keep it there.
Okay.
All right. Once we start getting closer to Avon Park, it'll start popping up on here. It is still on here. If you scroll all the way down, it'll show you. There it is. We're still 15 nautical miles away, though.
Okay.
All right. So, we'll go ahead and just leave that on there for now. So now, coming out over here to Avon Park, there's some things that you can use when you're coming out in this direction. So, after the I reservoir,
yes,
right over here to the right, there are going to be sand mines.
Yep.
Like big sand mines with big excavators.
Yep.
They're kind of in the shadows right now, so you can't really see them.
Yep.
But in the morning time, this is also, I like to adjust my pilotage depending on what time of day it is.
Sure.
In the morning time, you can always see the lakes. See the chain of lakes?
I do,
right?
yes.
So now, if you look down way, way, way off in the distance, there's a really big lake off in the distance. That's the one that is south of Sebring. Okay? The one that's just in front of it, that is the lake that downtown Sebring is on.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
Really? Does it not have it listed on here?
All traffic, west blue skies on the upland for only 3 feet.
All right, well, it's not listed on here. But anyway, that's the lake that downtown Sebring is right on.
Okay. So Avon Park's north of Sebring.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
And the third biggest lake, so you have the really big one off in the distance, you have that one, and then the third biggest lake is actually right off of our nose.
Yep.
That is the one that downtown Avon Park is right next to.
Okay.
And the airport is like a click west of downtown.
Yep, I saw that.
So if you actually look really closely where that lake is, if you look just in front of it, there's an opening.
I see it.
That's the airport.
Okay.
All right?
Well, that's not too bad. So shit, by the time I'm at this I lake, I can pretty much see it.
Now, the reason why I have to adjust it sometimes is because if you're like in the middle of the day, and you're maybe not high enough, or if you have clouds or a lot of shadows or something like that, it can be very hard to see the lakes.
Yeah.
So then you may need to rely on something else. Here's these sand mines right here.
But still, I could use this road for a reference, and I need to be off a little bit to the right.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. If you get to that reservoir and you point yourself in the right direction, just if you do it on a chart or something like that, just figure out, all right, I need a course of that, and just steer for that. You're going to end up right at the airport.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where now we have this coming into play. Okay. Now I want to see here. Once we get within 10 nautical miles, this should start popping up on here. Yeah, that Avon Park should start rolling up here on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, especially as we get further from Wauchula. We're almost at a point where Wauchula is going to get further, and we're going to get closer.
So how far is that right now?
About 11 nautical miles.
Okay. I was going to say, that looks like about 10 miles to me.
Yeah, and we're going to make a call when we get to 10 nautical miles.
Yep.
And then what we're going to do also, too, your COM1 right up here, I think I showed you this trick before. We push it. You get the white noise, the squelch.
Yeah.
That way you can adjust the volume, so that way you can hear.
Yeah.
And we're going to start listening. All right.
I'm still weak on this stuff. I got to get better at it.
That's all right. Now you can already start to see runway 10.
Yep.
That's runway 10, and we're kind of perpendicular to runway 5. Okay? So we see there it is, Avon Park, 10 nautical miles. So let's go ahead and make a 10 nautical mile call. We're 10 miles to the west, inbound for landing.
Landing runway 5.
Yep.
Avon Park traffic, this is Cessna November 9er 265. We are 10 miles to the west, inbound for a landing on runway 5. Avon traffic.
Very nice. Awesome radio call. Very, very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to a point. There's a little trick for you. See how that says bearing 106?
Yep.
What do we know about runway numbers?
They match the
compass, right? So runway 5 is going to be roughly a 050 heading.
Right.
So this is what we're going to do. Because what we're going to have to also do is we're going to have to start descending.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we're getting close to the airport.
Yep.
When we get to about, let's call it 6 miles, 6 or 7 miles maybe, we're going to turn to the right, and I want you to fly a course of 160, directly perpendicular.
Perpendicular to the runway heading.
To the runway, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And once we do that, we're going to start descending down.
Okay.
And then the next call you're going to make is we're going to fly perpendicular until that reads about 050, right? And then in theory, if you're flying directly at Avon Park at a bearing of 050, by the time you get visual sights on the airport, you should be, in theory, lined right up with runway 5, right? Or generally lined up with runway 5.
Yep.
Now, we might be able to still see it, but just remember, we're at 2,500 feet right now. We're going to have to descend down lower.
Yeah.
So we're going to start that whole process, let's call it 7 miles, when we get about 7 miles, because this is to the middle of the airport, and obviously it's a 5,000-foot long runway, so we're going to be a little bit shorter to the beginning of the runway.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and start that turn to the right. in order to fly a course of 160, we're going to need to steer the nose just a little bit to the left.
Like 165 or 155?
155 or so. Now we'll see. It may be almost lined up because the winds are out of the north. And what we can do now is let's go ahead and start descending down to about 1,500 feet. We'll start a descent down. And the reason why we're doing this so far away is because we're actually setting ourselves up for a straight in. And when you do a straight in, you want to kind of give yourself plenty of distance.
Sure.
So that way you can make radio calls, gauge where people are in the pattern.
Yeah.
If there's somebody in the pattern and you desire to make a straight in, and there's somebody in the pattern, let's say in downwind, remember, you don't want to cut them off.
Right.
All right? So
I get that.
you may need to give yourself extra time to slow down, right? Put some flaps in.
Or even abort. If somebody just won't get out of the way.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead now. All right, so we're flying at 160 course. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of power out here.
Traffic white blue Skyhawk on the upwind for 36, LaBelle traffic.
All right, that was LaBelle traffic. That doesn't pertain to us.
Yep. I've lost sight of the airport. Where is it?
It's over here to the left. It's right there off of our left.
Okay.
Right over there. It may be under the strut for you.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I see it.
All right. Now let's see here. We look on here. The little bead is showing us we're a little bit beyond 160, so let's actually turn a little bit more to the left, like 150 or so. And then what we're looking at is we're looking at this guy also up here. All right. When that reads about 050, or we have visuals on the airport, we can just start turning in towards the airport and enter that straight in final.
Okay.
And we can go down to our pattern altitude, 1,160 feet, as you mentioned. Or if you want to give yourself the extra leeway, 1,200 feet.
Okay.
We do not have any obstacles out here. Good pilot doing good pre-flight planning. You would know that coming out here, that you don't have any tall obstacles. The tallest obstacle along our route is that tower that we went over. And see how, even though we did that turn at about 7 miles, we're still gradually creeping ourselves a little bit closer and closer to the airport, even with flying perpendicular to the runway.
Yep.
But this is perfect. When we get to that point where we're ready to roll out on the runway, we're going to be 5 miles away. So it's like a 5-mile straight in final. We give ourselves plenty of room to get oriented, find the runway, be aware of any traffic that's around, and we can go ahead and make sure we stay ahead of the airplane. Now you can actually, do you see the airport now?
Yes.
Out over that clearing. So you can actually start to see runway 5 coming into view, right?
Yep, I do.
And we're almost to that point, right? We're almost to that bearing of 050.
Yep, we're at 1,400 feet.
All right, we also know that our winds were 020, so we still have a wind from the left. So we're going to need to steer, when we are lined up with the runway, we're going to need to steer a little bit to the left.
To the left, yep.
So now, we want to fly 050 to the airport, so we're actually going to need to lead it in a little bit. So when we get to about 055, start that left turn.
Okay.
And now we would be targeting a course of about 050. And all the while, it looks like we're leveling off as well, so go ahead, add a little bit of power. And then let's start that turn around to the left. So your other option would be, proper option to entering the traffic pattern would be to enter, go over a little bit to the northeast of the airport and enter a 45-degree to left downwind for runway 5.
Right.
All right. Now as we turn around here, we can see, there's the runway out over there. We overshot it a little bit, but that's okay. We can always just take the time to come back and reline ourselves up with that runway.
So I'm going to not really pay attention to the heading right now, just fly to the runway.
Now that you can see the airport, yes.
Yep.
So this trick is if you have like a really hazy day, or if it's maybe nighttime, or if it's something like that where you have a little bit harder time spotting stuff.
Yep.
This is just a general rule of thumb to help you, especially if you're far away, if you need to line up with the runway.
Yep.
Kind of indirectly doing it. The best way to line up with the runway would be loading up a procedure on here, but that's for like IFR flying and stuff.
So when do I want to call this in?
So when we get to about 5 miles, you can just call in at 5 miles straight in final.
Okay. And you don't see any traffic there?
I do not see any traffic.
Okay.
Usually the case for Avon Park, which is why I send my students there.
Okay. All right, we're 5 miles.
All right, let's make the call.
Avon traffic, this is Cessna November 9er265, inbound for straight approach landing, runway 5, Avon traffic.
All right, beautiful. All right, we know we have that wind a little bit from the left. Perfect. Put in that nose a little bit to the left of the runway.
Yep.
2 minutes below 3,000 feet.
And this is another thing that you benefit from doing that too, giving yourself plenty of distance.
Yep.
Because I've had students where I try to let them do it, you know, they're getting close to solo, I let them do it the first time they come over here, they're like a mile away.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
still like 2,000 feet, and they're like dive-bobbing.
Yep.
So, one added challenge at Avon Park though.
Yes.
They do not have pappies or vassies.
Yeah, that's all right.
Any red or white lights.
We did that at Peter O'Knight.
All right. So, what I recommend doing is keeping it up at 1,100 feet, keeping it up at your pattern altitude until you get to about 2 miles from the airport.
Okay. Well,
Maybe like 2.5 miles from the airport. So there you go. Just a little bump of power. Doing a good job of holding the runway. And also, in the meantime, we can also kind of brief our landing, right? We're going to be coming in today. We're going to be executing probably our crosswind procedures. This instance, we have a wind from the left. When we get down there close to the runway, we'll be dipping that left wing to prevent drift. And we'll be using our rudders for directional control.
Yep.
No traffic light, blue sky.
And I'll take it easy on you here. You can just give me a normal landing here.
Thank you.
We'll do the short field landing when we get back to Albert Whitted.
Is there any parachute jumping activity?
Is there any need to make another call?
Probably at about a 3 mile.
Okay.
So make the 3 mile really quick, and then we'll start that landing process.
Avon traffic, this is Cessna November 9er265, inbound for landing on runway 5, straight approach, Avon traffic.
All right, start that landing process. Because if you have a runway, or if you have an airport that doesn't have the VASIs,
Yep.
When in doubt, especially if you have a long runway, like a 5,000 foot long runway, when in doubt, it's better to be higher,
Yeah.
right, than to be too low, and know that you're too low. Look at that, the car beat put itself on for you.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it?
And then, when we're coming in straight in like this, you just let it settle into a normal rate of descent.
Yep.
We're a little bit higher than 800 feet at Albert Whitted, so 400 to 500 feet will do the trick.
Yep. And when do we bring in the next notch of flaps?
We usually do it at about 500 or 600 feet, so maybe a little bit lower.
Okay.
Actually, no, 500 or 600 feet above the airport, so actually, yes, 600 or 700 feet would be here. I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
All right, we're getting pushed a little bit.
There you go, doing a great job so far. All right, we're getting close to short final. There you go. We can get those flaps in. We're getting all nice and stabilized. Looking really nice. So now that we got all of our flaps in, you can go ahead and just pick an aiming point, maybe the 1,000 footers.
Yep.
All right, and we're going to be doing a full stop.
Yep.
And normal landing, perfect. You got your 65 knots. This is looking really nice. You're doing your crab angle, correcting for the wind. This is looking really nice so far. If you need to take a quick glance at it, the windsock is at the end of the runway over there.
Yeah, I see it. I can feel it.
Oh, yeah. A little bit stiff today. Now we're still a little bit high. Pull out a little bit of power to drop it down.
Yep.
You may still need to catch it a little bit when we get down a little bit lower. Keep that nose down to bring it down. There you go. Get it right above the runway. All right. A little bit lower. A little bit lower.
All right.
There you go. Now start pulling it back. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll roll it down to the next one.
Okay. Yeah, it was a little, for me anyway, a little bit of a challenging landing.
Yeah. Well, it's a new airport, new place. It's going to look a lot different than what you're used to over at Albert Whitted.
I meant also the crosswinds.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll get off here at
Jumpers away, 147
Alpha.
and below Lake Wales.
That's Lake Wales, not here.
Yep.
You will pick up Lake Wales traffic into here. So we'll get off at Alpha here, and we'll taxi on back.
And should I call that, or?
Once we get off the runway, you just have to say clear of the runway, and then if you also want to mention we're taxiing back to runway 5 for departure.
Okay. Avon traffic, Cessna November 9er 265, clear runway 5, taxiing via Alpha. Avon traffic.
All right, so while we're rolling here, if you want to do that after landing checklist, we can go ahead and put our... How's that? I don't even think you have to land a mixture today.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's pretty damn lean.
All right, welcome to Avon Park.
Yeah.
Now, I would say the biggest thing on that landing that kind of threw it off a little bit was we were a little bit high.
Yeah.
Right, and we had to drop it down there kind of towards the end. And one thing that you want to keep in the back of your head, especially here, you know you're going to somewhere that's not perfectly at sea level like Albert Whitted.
Yeah.
And, you know, look at your altimeters right now. Your altimeter is at almost 200 feet on both of them, right? Because we know the altitude here is a little bit higher. So you kind of have to keep that in the back of your head when you're getting here to like 400 and 300, you know, okay, well, I'm getting close to about 200 feet above the airport, 100 feet above the airport.
Right.
And when you're following a VASI, right, usually when you have like the red and white lights, a lot of times if you're perfectly following that, you're above the threshold of the runway at about 50 to 75 feet, depending on where you're at. Okay, and depending on where the lights are placed. Now, actually, that's what I thought. They do have lights here, and I don't know why they're not on. So that's, maybe they're noted out or something like that, or they're not working. I wouldn't be surprised in a place like this. But
we're going to go full length on the runway?
Yeah, we'll go to the end. Always, especially you as a student pilot, I always want you to go to the end. Okay. Even though you may not have to, you know, real world flying, most instances you may not have to, as you as a student pilot, I want you to have as much runway as possible.
All right.
Did I ever tell you the most useless things to a pilot?
No, tell me.
The most useless things to the pilot are the sky above you.
Yes.
The runway behind you.
Yes.
And the fuel you left at the airport.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Vehicle traffic is Falcon has skydive exceeding 2 minutes below 4,000 feet.
I think that was still...
traffic here, Van.
I think that was still Lake Wales.
Doing short approach 6, Lake Wales.
Lake Wales.
Yeah. That guy doesn't give a crap. They do whatever the hell they want, those jump pilots. I used to be jump pilot, but I did it into a little bit bigger airport, so I kind of had to mind my P's and Q's.
Sorry.
All right, we'll go ahead and hold shore here. We make sure we have everything all squared away.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is, out here, let's do a short field takeoff, the easier one of the takeoffs, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and set your 10 degrees of flaps. Now when you need 10 degrees of flaps, remember this is the one where you're going to be holding the brakes, full power, and then you just rotate normally. You just hold the center line. Today we have the wind from the left, so we'll need a little bit of aileron correction to the left, and we'll be rotating with a little bit of aileron correction.
Yep.
And we just rotate at our normal 55, and then you pitch for VX, your best rate of climb, or your best angle of climb. Now I don't know why this is labeled as 60. I thought it was 63 in this airplane. I may be wrong. I could have swore it was 63. Really? Just off the checklist, I can't read it. VX, oh no, it is 60 in this one. I might be thinking of the Pipers. All right, so it is 60 in this one, so that's what we're going to do.
10 degrees of flaps. Rotate normally. But then keep it just above the runway till you get your...
Oh, that's the one keeping it above the runway is soft field.
Okay.
Because remember, you're holding it back and it pops up in ground effect.
Right.
All right, that's the one where you have to release it because you're not at an airspeed to start climbing.
So it's just 10 degrees of flaps, basically.
10 degrees of flaps, holding the brakes, and then the next big thing...
Powering up.
and then rotating at 55, do a nice gradual rotation, and then you pitch. The most important thing is pitching for that 60 knots, and you want to climb at 60 knots. And then what the examiner does on a check ride is they'll say, all right, you've cleared your obstacle. Then you can lower the nose, 76, flaps up.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, there we go.
Oh, make your call.
Oh, yep.
Just say departing runway 5, VFR departure to the west.
Okay. Avon traffic, this is Cessna November 99265, departing on runway 5 and leaving the pattern VFR to the west. Avon traffic.
Very nice. Okay. We got our lights, camera, action already. Everything's good. Obviously, on a 5,000 foot long runway, normally you wouldn't have to do short field procedures, but we're still going to practice it. Keep you fresh.
Nice and wide, too. Seems wide, anyway.
All right, so line up with the runway and then hold your brakes. All right, so now we hold the brakes, hold them nice and tight, and then full power. Make sure the engine's pulled up all the way, and then release them. Yep. And then just rudder for directional control. Get ready on the right rudder. It's going to come in soon. Hold your center line. Perfect. You got a little bit of aileron correction into the wind.
Yep.
We're looking for 55. And you don't need to kill it, but just a nice gradual rotation, and then just start a nice pitch up to 60. All the while, perfect. Maintaining coordination. There it is. There's 60, so just keep pulling back to hold that 60. Keep pulling back a little bit more. A little bit more. There you go. And just like when you pitch for a climb, I want you to peg that 60. We're still at 66, a little bit further back.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Now release it a little bit. There you go. And pitch for that 60.
Okay, and put the flaps up.
All right. Now you cleared your obstacle. Now, when you're like on a check ride, if you're doing this in that environment, you put your flaps up once the examiner says you've cleared your obstacle.
Oh, okay.
Normally it would be at this point. Usually it's simulating you have to clear a 50-foot obstacle.
All right.
So it usually comes pretty quickly. But just know, what they're going to look for is you're going to take off, you're going to rotate. They're going to look to make sure that you're pitching for your VX and you're holding your VX.
Okay.
As soon as they see that you're holding your VX, okay, you've cleared your obstacle. And then you lower the nose.
All right, yeah, I didn't do that quite right then. Okay.
All right, you can start that left turn here. We'll just go right to the west.
Okay.
Now we got to do it backwards.
Yep.
And there you go. If you look really quickly to your right, you can see that big lake and downtown Avon right over here to our right.
I see it.
Mobile traffic number A410 Kilo, 20 miles northeast of the airfield inbound for runway 3.
I'm going to put this back on our nav page so we have our map on here.
Okay.
Road traffic, Roger 472 Alpha, 5 miles.
All right. So what were those last things that we were looking on the last flight?
The golf course.
Well, what was after the golf course?
The lakes.
Yep, there was the eye reservoir, right?
Oh, yeah, the eye reservoir.
With also the sand mines, too. So you can see the sand mines.
Yep.
And then we'll be going right up to 2,500 feet over here. So we can just climb right up to that altitude. As soon as we get up to 2,500 feet, you should be easily able to see that reservoir.
Also got the fire.
Yeah, there's a fire, too. All right, and then what you can do is make one last call. You don't need to say it last call, but just make one last call. Avon Park traffic, 99265, departing the area to the west.
Avon traffic, Cessna November 99265, departing the pattern, VFR to the west, Avon traffic.